Freelance opens with world-famous children's author B.B. Flim in a TV interview. We segue to Captain Winters of the police department, who's in charge of an upcoming presidential event, and he's not too happy about a new addition to the city, a mercenary called Jon Sable. And what about the man himself, Jon Sable? Well, his home gets invaded, and then he gets a job offer from a very famous person. The man thought of as the assassin is Milo Jackson, a man Jon Sable has had a long past with. Captain Winters isn't too happy with Jon Sable getting in his way again, but Jon Sable has friends in high places these days and still gets his job done. We are also introduced to Eden Kendall, Jon Sable's agent and sometimes lover, who finally introduces Jon Sable to Mike Blackman, B.B. Flim's illustrator, his very female illustrator, who will prove over the course of several issues she is not one to be taken lightly. Mike is curious about the duality of the Jon Sable and B.B. Flim identities. Eden can't really explain it to her, but she can give her this, a manuscript that Jon Sable had sent in called A Storm Over Eden. The manuscript begins with Jon Sable in Berlin for the 1972 Olympics, where he's in the pentathlon event, where he spies a beautiful young woman and with his unique charm doesn't immediately hit it off with her. Eventually, however, his charm does work on Elise, a gymnast from Africa, also in the Olympics. They eventually marry and go back to Kenya, Africa, where he starts a safari business, and they begin to raise a family. It's an idyllic life, with Jon Sable even telling his children tales of leprechauns in Central Park, but nothing stays idyllic. He had interfered with some poachers when he helped some game wardens earlier, and now they're coming after him, but he's not home, just his family. And now, a man with nothing left to lose, he cuts a bloody swath through Africa, going after every poacher he can find. But Jon Sable isn't the Punisher. He's a man traumatized, and after getting as much revenge as he can, he spends most of his time drunk, until Milo Jackson, a fellow Olympian, pulls him out of his funk and gives him a new purpose in life as a mercenary. He does that job well until the politics change in Africa and he is kicked out and has to go back to America. At therapy, he tries to write about his life, but as he sends it out to publishers, he gets rejection after rejection after rejection, until one time he randomly selects an agent and she sends him word that she is interested in his book. Well, a part of his book, that is. Begrudgingly, Sable signs off on it, because there is money involved, but he does it under a pseudonym. But he also misses the action of his mercenary days, and he's trying to figure out a way to get back into that line of business. And as Jon Sable Freelance explodes across the headlines, so do the words of B.B. Flim. Eventually, Jon Sable gets the last link in the poachers who murdered his family, or so he thinks. Jon Sable Freelance was created by Mike Grell and published by First Comics originally in 1983, and it ran 56 issues. The first 6 issues contained the Storm Over Eden story, but that story started a whole lot of ramifications that went throughout the entire series. My personal introduction to Jon Sable and the creator Mike Grell was a dealer at a convention was asking me if I wanted to read something really cool, and he handed me Jon Sable Freelance number 20, The Rookie, where a rookie cop shoots Jon Sable as he tries to thwart a robbery at the liquor store. That issue made me a fan, and I kept trying to find more issues after that. I was not disappointed. Sable has all types of adventures, including searching for MIAs in Vietnam, international intrigue, fun ones like the Maltese Falcon, and then ones like Sable looking exactly like a foreign dignitary. As Mike and Sable's relationship deepens, he takes her back to Africa. Unfortunately, this powerful story arc is kind of weakened by the subpar art, but you finally find out who Jay is. You even have Sergio Aragone's guest drawing an issue which focuses entirely on the leprechauns of New York City. There was also Mike Grell's Sable, which reprinted the first 10 issues. And then there was Sable, that lasted for 27 issues and was written by Marv Wolfman. And then IDW returned Mike Grell to Jon Sable in 2005 to do the miniseries Jon Sable Freelance Blood Trail. Now this is where I normally wrap up the video, because I've already talked about the comics, which is what I'm wanting you to be interested in. I don't normally talk about the trade paperbacks and the collections and stuff like that, because the title of this series is Keep to the Long Boxes. If you happen to find these comics out in the wild, maybe these videos will get you interested and you can read them. But there's two things points I want to make about Jon Sable that I think are interesting. One, Mike Grell wrote a novel that encapsulated the Storm Above Eden storyline. And two, there was a Jon Sable TV show that came out in 1987. It only lasted 7 episodes, and quite honestly, aside from the opening credits, wasn't very good, but it did give Renee Russo one of her first screen credits. She played the role of Eden Kendall. Well, I thank you for viewing. I hope you enjoyed this video and all the past ones and the future ones coming up. I'll start working on the next one, and I hope to have videos every couple of weeks for you. And remember, like and subscribe, and keep to the long boxes. Music by Nando.